It was the best of times. It was the weirdest of times. Trump demands either a new election immediately or make him rightful president now. You know, I'm not a big fan of the Daily Beast. They publish a lot of fake news. And no, this headline is correct. Donald Trump took to Truth Social and said that what the FBI did with the Hunter Biden laptop story and Facebook, among other things, was fraud and election interference. And the only remedy would be to make him the rightful president or hold a new election right now. Okay, we'll get started with the facts and we'll make our way through this. I take a look at what's going on with the FBI now and what the FBI did in 2020, and it really does seem like intense election interference. There are many stories where people are wondering why the FBI has not intervened. There's many interstate riots and interstate rioters. There's obviously the story out of Michigan, where it seems the FBI worked to entrap several individuals who eventually got acquitted. Some pleaded guilty and some ultimately were convicted, though many on the right contest how that trial was actually held. It does seem the FBI is politically motivated, now going after documents at Donald Trump's home, Mar-a-Lago. And we have more stories suggesting the FBI is acting politically. The Daily Mail reports the DOJ admits it did seize documents that could be protected by attorney-client privilege during Mar-a-Lago raid, backing up Trump's claim that FBI agents had no right to take them. So they released the affidavit, the statement that asserted probable cause to search the home of Donald Trump for these documents. And the probable cause was that Donald Trump had 15 boxes, and they believed that those boxes contained classified information. So Trump cooperated and turned those boxes over to the National Archives, who then said to the FBI, there was classified stuff in here. So the FBI said, well, that seems like probable cause that Trump probably has more. And then they went and raided Trump's home, which makes no sense because he was cooperating. Now, as for the fraud narrative and calling for a new election, well, Trump is this is who Trump is, okay? This is exactly what he's going to say, and it would never happen. There's no system by which they'll just come out and be like, oh, okay, yeah, Trump is president. He's allowed his opinion on these matters, but I think the bigger issue is to highlight these. Look, Mr. President, with all due respect, the answer is not a remedy by going back in time and redoing the election, a new election. It's to point this out to the American people right now for the upcoming elections. Now, you may have concerns, all of you, that something was amiss in 2020. Sure, fine, whatever. All that matters is you go and vote now. As soon as early voting starts, you need to go vote. You need to get all your friends, all your family members, and send them to go vote. Say, guys, this is what I said. Tell all your friends, hey, we're going to go get pizza and beer, my treat. And then on the way there, you stop at the polling station or whatever for the correct area where your friends live. And then be like, run in, run out, send in your vote. Or you can say this, hey, we're going to go out we're going to go out for drinks. And then on your way there, when you're picking them up, be like, hey, did you guys vote yet? Just go out, hang out with your friends and bring them to the voting station to make sure they all go out and vote. All right. It's that simple. Don't give them anything to vote. Nothing like that. We just need to go door to door and ask people to go vote. Hang out with your friends and convince them why it's so important. Because right now we are learning some very dastardly things about what's going on with these with the FBI and how they've dealt with investigations. The Ashley Biden diary is a really good example. Why is it that the FBI is investigating Ashley Biden's diary? It's a legitimate question. I saw someone on Twitter say it. They said that, she's not a federal official. She left the property at someone's house. How is this a federal case? And why did it warrant raiding Project Veritas? Because it is election interference. And that's what really is crazy. So let's read this news about what Trump is really demanding. And I love starting with the Daily Beast because I think they're fake news. But then I'll show you Trump's actual statements, and then we'll take a look at what the FBI is actually doing. While all this is going on, Joe Biden has referred to the GOP, Trump supporters, as semi-fascism. And when confronted, the press secretary doubled down, saying, yep, they're trying to take away our freedoms and take away our right to vote. And it's just like, what? Where? When? It's crazy, isn't it? Before we get started, my friends, in the link in the description below, you will see a link to our new single, Only Ever Wanted by Timcast Records. You can buy it now on iTunes if you want to support our work and help us change culture. We are currently number 2 on iTunes. And if you want to help us hit number 1, we need a good amount of sales. Help us change that culture. We really would appreciate it. Smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends. Here's the story from the Daily Beast. Trump demands either new election immediately or make him rightful president now. Former President Donald Trump on Monday took time off from melting down over the FBI executing a search warrant at his home to seize classified documents to demand that he be installed as Commander-in-Chief of the United States 22 months after he decisively lost the 2020 race. The twice impeached ex-president, though, did propose a minimal solution if he is not returned to the White House right away: declare the 2020 vote irreparably compromised and hold a new one immediately. In recent days, conservatives have latched onto remarks made by Facebook chief Mark Zuckerberg about his social platform's handling of the Hunter Biden laptop story just ahead of the 2020 election. Appearing on Joe Rogan's podcast, Zuckerberg revealed that the DOJ had warned Facebook to be vigilant about Russian propaganda in the waning days of election season. While Zuckerberg specifically said the feds did not flag the laptop as disinformation, he told Rogan that Facebook did limit the reach of the New York Post's Hunter Biden story on the newsfeed for a few days as fact checkers determined whether it was true. Unlike Twitter, however, Facebook users were free to share the articles on their pages. Now, let me just stop there and just point out, they're trying to make it seem like the FBI is not interfering, but they literally are. The FBI should not be going to major platforms where people publish information and telling them that there is a potential for any kind of bad information. The government shouldn't be doing that. 1A should be restricting them, because this is exactly what you get. This is the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is the plausible deniability of the FBI. Oh, we didn't say to censor the Hunter Biden information just right before that story was about to break. And they probably knew. They said, be worried about Russian disinformation. And then comes the media, who comes out and says it's all Russian disinformation. There comes the pundit class to say it's all Russian disinformation. A trick, a manipulation, and government interference. I think anybody who shared that story, who had it suppressed, they should have a First Amendment grounds to sue the federal government, the FBI, and Facebook for acting at the behest of the FBI. They say. Additionally, a recent survey by Technometrica Institute of Policy and Politics found that 79% of respondents believe that Trump would have likely defeated Joe Biden if voters were told that the contents of the Hunter Biden laptop were genuine and not Russian disinformation, as had been suggested by the intelligence community. So you mean to tell me that the intelligence community came out and said it was Russian disinformation, right before that went to FBI and said, don't let Russian disinformation on your platform? How is that not coordinated suppression of speech by the government? Trump, who has repeatedly and falsely claimed the 2020 presidential election was stolen due to widespread election fraud, took to his troubled social media site Truth Social in order to amplify the latest talking point. And this grinds my gears, guys. I don't think that the fraud narrative is appropriate, and I don't believe it is correct, and I'll tell you why. And I hate saying it every single time. I think most of you understand my position. For one, the most important thing, we are like 2.5 months away from a midterm. The last thing you want to be telling people is that they can't win. No, you can win. You are winning. Carrie Lake is winning. Liz Cheney is losing. Joe Kent is winning. Across the board, we are seeing tremendous victories. They want to talk about New York's 19th district because a Democrat won. Yeah, but it's a 10-point swing towards the Republicans, so it's major good news for the Republicans. I don't like that narrative. I just don't like it. Furthermore, I'll give you a really good example. There's a video of people pulling ballots out from under a table and then counting them. And people are like, see, that's proof of fraud. And it's like, dude, if you watch the full video, you can watch people bringing in ballots and then they get put in the box. You can watch people bringing the ballots in. And then the box gets put under the table before they count all of the ballots. It wasn't like a secret box. This is why initially I was never a fan of the fraud narrative. A lot of the claims that were being made were outrageous. Venezuela, Germany, all these crazy things. Jack Posobiec said it sounds like a state operation to manipulate and confuse people. I think it was Jack who said, sorry, Jack, I'm putting words in your mouth, but I think it was Jack who said it looked like a state operation. People kept saying things like Trump would be reinstated and all that. And I'm like, guys, please, please, please stop. It's simple. It's simple. They wrote a Time magazine article about it. A year before the election, they changed the rules. Universal mail-in voting was legalized in a bunch of places. There were challenges in court. The court challenges, many didn't actually get heard on the merits, but were dismissed for standing. Some people call that cheating, fine, but it's not fraud. You can argue that it is colloquially, but the issue is they went through a process, either through the legislative and executive branches, to change the rules to greatly benefit Democrats. That's why I don't like that fraud or whatever. Call whatever you want cheating. That's an opinion, fine. But I think the reality is Joe Biden got votes because the country was shut down and because they were knocking on doors. Y'all need to go be knocking on doors. That's what I want to encourage. And that's what I think truly secured this for Joe Biden. Call it whatever you want. I know there's a lot of stuff with 2,000 mules that are questionable. Here's how it works. If Donald Trump is to win in 2024, and if the Republicans are to win in 2022 in the midterms, it will require you with an unrelenting force to rally as many people as possible to go out and vote and to knock on doors, and then you win. That's all that matters. And the fact that Carrie Lake won and her positions on all this shows after you do win, and you can, in the midterms, we will see some serious changes. But this is the narrative that we get from Donald Trump on Truth Social. He tweeted, "The DOJ and FBI are practicing election interference at the highest and most dishonest levels our country has ever seen before, both in the midterms and the 2024 presidential election. They allowed spying on my campaign and did nothing." Pause there. Worse still, someone actually got convicted for manipulating evidence to justify the spying on that Trump campaign. Told Facebook and the media that the laptop from hell was Russian disinformation. It wasn't. Trump is correct on this point. And now they don't want anyone to read the words and meaning of the very important Presidential Records Act, under which I did nothing wrong, but they did raid. That was 20 hours ago. 3 hours ago, he said. So now it comes out conclusively that the FBI buried the Hunter Biden laptop story before the election, knowing that if they didn't, Trump would have easily won the 2020 presidential election. Full stop. New narrative. And this I understand. Many polls have come out saying that if the American people knew about the Hunter Biden laptop story and what was on it, they would not have voted for Joe Biden. That is very different from Chinese ballots and Venezuelan servers and mules and all of that stuff. This is serious. Trump says, "This is massive fraud and election interference at a level never seen before in our country." I don't know if that constitutes fraud, to be completely honest. I do think it is the weaponization of the DOJ to stop Donald Trump. It's funny. Trump appointed Chris Wray. It was Trump's DOJ. Granted, it's really the bureaucratic state's DOJ, so, we get it. He says, remedy, declare the rightful winner. Or, and this would be the minimal solution, declare the 2020 election irreparably compromised and have a new election immediately. Okay, I'm going to stop right there and say, I think the FBI is interfering in the election now. I think they interfered in 2020 by their own standards. And I'll tell you why. I don't like coming out here and being like, oh, I think the FBI is manipulating. The issue is in 2016, the FBI investigated Hillary Clinton and her emails. They found that she had classified emails. Some believe that had they not done that, she would have won. Donald Trump won with 88,000 votes spread across 3 states, which gave him a major lead in the Electoral College. In 2020, FBI whistleblowers, according to the New York Post, said that they were barred from investigating the Hunter Biden laptop story because the FBI did not want to interfere in the election. That is to say, now that we know they did go to Facebook and say, watch out for Russian disinfo, and then we heard from the intelligence agencies that it must be Russian disinfo. By their own standard, they interfered in the election. And to be fair, you can argue they interfered in 2016 as well. But that's stupid. The FBI should not stop doing their job simply because they're worried about someone winning or losing an election. And the fact that the FBI did not investigate the Hunter Biden laptop story says a whole lot, because now they're investigating the Ashley Biden diary. She is not a federal employee, part of a federal agency. It is the private property of a private citizen that went missing. It seems more like the DOJ was weaponized to defend the establishment. I hate the fraud narrative. I really do. I hate it because on the surface, it suggests that you can only lose if someone else is cheating. And it's like, dude, Donald Trump did well enough to win in 2016, proving you can win. But he did not do as well as he could have. And in 2020, he saw a tremendous uptick in the amount of votes. I think he gained like 12 million. And I don't like this from the Trump supporters who say that proves, Joe Biden couldn't have gotten these votes. And I'm like, my friends, the media lies, right? We know it. You know that no matter what you do, they'll come out and claim it was bad. You know the FBI is targeting the Trump administration. They're doing it right now. Why don't you believe that they could go door to door, tell people to vote, and put universal mail-in voting in everyone's front door and make it that easy? Let me just simplify it for you. You need to steelman your opponent. Assume they're stronger than you realize. Otherwise, you lose. But more importantly, don't you just understand the possibility, nay, probability, that when they enact universal mail-in voting across the board, through the legal process, send a ballot to your house, someone could knock on the door and say, hey, fill that out. And they go, okay. They fill it out. It's that simple. Getting someone to leave their home to go vote is very, very hard. Getting someone to fill out a piece of paper and put it in their own mailbox so that the mailman can come and pick it up and bring it to the post office, it's ridiculously easy. Now, I think the mail-in votes have to be dropped. Most of them have to be dropped off at ballot boxes. Well, we saw what happened in Wisconsin. They had the ballot drop-off locations. They made it very, very easy. Some states, ballot harvesting is illegal as well. That's what needs to be understood now. The 2,000 mules thing, I think, is the most interesting. If you want to pursue these angles, fine. You need to win first. You need to make sure you steelman your opponent. You need to recognize that in the primaries, Trump's record is like 99%. He's nailing it. People are going out and voting. This is the time to reject this narrative that you were cheated and you can't win or anything like that, and to recognize you just need to rally people. It is organizational power. I'll give you an example referencing the music we've put out. Sorry, it's just really on my mind, but it's simple. And I'll give a shout out to Tom McDonald and give you this example. To make the top charts on the Billboard Hot 100, which is the biggest music in the country, you need only buy, I don't even know how many, but it's not that many. For 99 cents, for 69 cents, or $1.29, whatever the number is, you buy that digitally. And that counts, I think, one stream or one purchase is 100 to 150 audio streams. The music industry is what it is because of algorithms. If every single person who supported Trump went out and bought Tom McDonald's song Fake Woke right now, in fact, if every person who listens to this video right now opens up iTunes and buys Fake Woke by Tom McDonald for 99 cents, he will be the top #1 Billboard Hot 100. And why that matters? If everyone did that once a week, not just Tom McDonald, but other bands, All That Remains, for instance. Phil Labonte's very outspoken, libertarian ideals and things like that. The Hot 100 would all of a sudden start turning into alt-rock, heavier concepts, challenging the establishment. The major labels would all of a sudden stop and say, whoa, this is what's making money. These people are more willing to spend money than these people. Streams on Spotify are worthless. You see, that's the power of organization. We need more of it. Trump supporters, GOP Republicans just need to stand up, if only for 10 seconds. And I gotta be honest, guys. Buying Tom McDonald's Fake Woke, it's not his newest song or anything like that. It's just his top song, I think. If everyone bought old songs, can top Billboard. That's the power of $1. It's amazing to me that across the space, the anti-establishment space, you've got the Daily Wire with hundreds of millions of views. You've got Crowder, you've got Timcast.com. And it really is a bit disheartening to see that across all of this, we haven't been able to rally that kind of organizational power of even out of the millions of people who watch, 50 to 100,000, to decide that the top 100 should be bands like Tom McDonald or people who are, FJB and all that stuff. They've been at the top. They've gotten big. But you'd think that this level of political activism, the fact that people are listening and paying attention, you'd think it would dominate. The way I see it is, I don't mind modern music. I think a lot of it's fine. It's fun. It's poppy. But we could really send a message by organizing. And the reason I shout out Tom McDonald is, of course, we're doing music. Of course, we're trying to challenge the culture. But there are bigger names than I that have a better chance of doing it. However we do that, however we organize, however we are able to get everyone to just say, okay, we are all going to agree to do this one thing to make a statement. However we can do that, that's big. Donald Trump winning A lot of people voted for Donald Trump in 2016 because they liked him. In 2020, because they were red-pilled and they woke up and said, but look, Joe Biden still ended up getting 80 plus million votes, and it's because the left is organized. I'm sorry, man, it's just the reality. The right doesn't go out and protest. They don't do it. Many people who are conservative are older. Many libertarians also just don't go out and protest, but the left does. Just take a look at Antifa going out, smashing up windows and doing everything they do. They organize. They post online. They organize these campaigns. They do harassment campaigns. It works. This is what we need to win the culture war. Imagine if young people who wanted to be famous musicians saw the top music, people who wanted to be in movies, saw the top actors, and they were all saying things, not crazy, not MAGA, just outright like, Joe Biden sucks. Like, dude, you actually like that? Come on. There would be a big change. Young people being inspired. But this is why we see Drag Kids Story Hour. And I hope y'all get it. The left is organized. You know what? Let me outright show you. I don't know if I actually have this this pulled up from, I don't have it pulled up. I thought I did. But there's a story about Antifa. And they're guarding with weapons, a drag show for kids. How did they organize that? How did they get the show, get families to come, and then organize armed guards outside of it? Why can't the right muster that? I think it's simple. People on the right are spread out in rural areas far away from each other, and it's hard to concentrate in cities. Concentration in cities allows the left to run wild with their ideas and their culture, but because they're isolated from the rural folk, more conservative-leaning individuals, those ideas don't spread as fast in rural areas. Though the internet does make things a bit different, it does allow ideas to spread. Because of this, you are getting the cult. And it's crazy. I got one guy who's screaming at me. He can't believe it. How is it possible that Tim Pool got so much traffic? They're all bots. They're all fake. It can't be real. No, the reality is we do have the ability to organize to some degree. We need to amplify that. We need to stand up and we need to change the culture. Imagine if you had Tom McDonald at number one. Then they're forced to interview him. What's going on? And he can talk about all of this stuff. And then kids who want to be the best see him and say, I want to be like him. That really puts them on a bad footing. That's how we win. Politics is downstream from culture. Just simply put, guys, coming from the election narrative, people got to organize. How do we get those people to go and knock on doors? From the New York Post, FBI put the Hunter Biden laptop story right in Facebook's lap. They say, well, Facebook won't say exactly what the FBI told them. It has told the Post that Hunter Biden was not mentioned, but it refuses to rule out whether Joe Biden or Ukraine were raised in the FBI's defensive briefing to Facebook weeks before the publication of our story, it's the New York Post, implicating the then dramatic presidential candidate in his son's lucrative Ukrainian influence peddling schemes. Basically, the background here is the FBI basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, you should be on high alert. We thought there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump that's similar to that. Just to be vigilant. When Rogan asked if the FBI had told Facebook to be on guard specifically for our story about Hunter Biden's laptop, Zuckerberg claimed rather unconvincingly that he did not remember specifically, but it basically fit the pattern. Simply put, the FBI is interfering in the election. That's it. That's their own standard, not my opinion. That's their standard. We know these things are happening. What are we going to do about it? My whole thing is that politics can only go so far, and I'll explain. I often talk about my skateboard friends who voted for Joe Biden. How the did they vote for Joe Biden? It's because they own the arts. It's because they own the TVs. It's because they own the movies. The Daily Wire gets it. They understand. And those dudes, they're doing the Lord's work, making regular movies that are apolitical. They see the same thing I see. Listen, most of the people who are engaging with this level of content, who know what's going on, they know what's going on because they're interested in what's going on. They're interested in political stories, so they know. Regular people aren't. There's that video. The video I mentioned of a friend of mine who knows nothing about politics, who doesn't even know what the words Supreme Court Justice mean. Does that mean like a law or something? And I mean that figuratively. Like, this is a person who's so far out of politics, they couldn't tell you one Supreme Court justice. And they filmed themselves walking up with their mail-in ballot being like, I'm doing my part, are you? And then putting it in the mailbox. And then I was talking to my friend, I'm like, bro, why are you doing this? And he's like, because Trump's a fascist. And I'm like, what about him as a fascist? Like, he just is. Are you serious? It's because they see their celebrity friends. Not their friends, but they see the celebrities they like. They see musicians. They see movies. The entirety of the culture is dominated by saying Orange Man bad. We have to win on the cultural front. Andrew Breitbart said it. I think it was Breitbart who said this, that politics is downstream from culture. Now, hey, props if you get a law passed. Props if you get a precedent set or something. But it won't matter if the culture is unwilling to enforce it. Right now in New York, there's crazy videos of crime because the culture is unwilling to enforce it. So how do you win? You make it so that people don't want to enforce or embrace certain ideas. That's it. It's about values. It's about culture. This is what we're watching happen. In the meantime, this is what we get. White House doubles down on Biden's semi-fascism claim about MAGA Republicans. Joe Biden said the Republicans are embracing semi-fascism. You know where this is going. An official declaration at the highest levels that the Republicans are overt fascists who must be stopped after they primed the culture for years about the dangers of fascism, about the lies. When the very fine people hoax that Donald Trump claimed white nationalists were fine people when he didn't. But we know that because we pay attention. But what regular people don't know, they don't pay attention, they don't read the transcripts, and they don't want to. They have the affliction, derangement syndrome. And it's not Trump derangement syndrome. These people are zealously pro-establishment. I had one person say to me that they hate me because I've shattered consensus reality. And I'm like, oh, okay, I think this is a compliment. Wow. The Borg, they're upset that I've shattered consensus reality. Well, I care about what's true. That's all. Not about who should have power simply because they control consensus reality. But this means culture will be everything. This means what the Daily Wire is doing is more important than ever. It means what Tom McDonald is doing is more important than ever. Now, I know you guys embrace it. I know you guys sign up at timcast.com at the Daily Wire. I know you guys listen to Tom McDonald's music. I don't have all the answers. I do know that after looking at the metrics and learning about how these charting systems work and how the establishment works, we can take these spaces. And when we do, that's how we win. How do you convince a 16-year-old that in 2 years, they should be voting for freedom, for liberty, individual rights, against wokeness, against critical race theory? You can't just come out and say, haha, CRT is dumb. It doesn't work. They see Chris Evans. He's Captain America, man. He's a superhero. Don't you want to be a movie star? You remember what it was like to be a little kid? You want to be the superhero, jumping, doing a backflip? Yeah, well, at least if you're a boy, I guess. The girls, I suppose, now they're telling them to do all that stuff too. So, whatever. Okay. Well, Chris Evans comes out and he's Captain America and he says Orange Man bad. Yeah. The problem is that among people on the right, they're too scared to come out and speak. And that's how they win. They suppress your ability to speak. They don't let you advocate for who you think should be voted for. They won't let you say it. They fire you from your jobs. They blacklist you from Hollywood. What do we got? The Daily Wire making movies. Now we've got, this week we're going to have a movie star on. I don't want to say too much because I don't like announcing guests in advance, but people who are making legitimate Hollywood-grade movies. We've had a couple. We had Nick Searcy on twice. Big movie star. Not like a Hollywood celebrity A-lister, but he's in a ton of big productions. They come on and they will say exactly what they believe, and it's only possible because we are carving out that cultural space. When we are telling these people, again, mostly the Daily Wire, they know what they're doing, and I encourage them to keep pushing. You need Hollywood celebrities to come out, outright say, 100%, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. And then when they're like, we'll fire you for saying that, you can say, okay, well, I don't care. The Daily Wire has got money up the wazoo, and I'll keep making movies. We'll cancel you if you don't support Antifa. Oh, okay. Well, I'll go make a movie with the Daily Wire. They're buying like crazy and they got cash. They are flush with cash and they will lose their minds. That is the path to victory. I don't know if we pull it off this time, 2022. I think it's looking good. I don't know if we pull it off 2024. I just know this. I believe in the values of classical liberalism, which is going back to the early days of the United States of America. I don't mean classical liberalism like Democrats in the 90s. And I mean the true ideas of individual liberty, personal responsibility. Now, I think there is responsibility to the community. I think we have responsibility to each other. So I lean more in the traditional Democrat, social liberal sense of believing in free speech, opposing the establishment. I believe that class issues are a big component of the problems we face in this country. And I don't like the elites. I don't like the establishment. I don't like people born into the snooty people who are elitist because they were born into it. Not every person with money is an elitist. You can be a populist. I don't like any of that. I believe in meritocracy. I want those values to persist, and I don't want psychotic ideologues to win. That's what I want to see. So why do I do the things I do at timcast.com? Because everybody has to do everything in their power to do something. It just so happens that I've been successful at launching these platforms and creating new shows to build more. Successful enough, but I wish we had bigger influence. We may only be putting a dent in this machine. But if people sign up for timcast.com, if people sign up for the Daily Wire, if people buy Tom McDonald's music, I know I'm not naming, Steven Crowder and many libertarians supporting people like Michael Malice and Dave Smith, we can keep expanding and carving out this space. Because you know what the reality is? We're more fun. We're more fun. We're happier. We are happier and we have a good time. We laugh at jokes. We can see something like Sam Hyde and say it's funny. We can point that out. We have our limits to varying degrees, but we recognize comedy, edgy humor, and we are not going to destroy your life because you stepped out of line. Too often, the left just eats their own. That's an opportunity for us. How do we win these elections? How do we end critical race theory? How do we stop the weird gender ideology stuff? Building culture and inspiring young people to tell them what is cool, what is confident, and what will get you social praise. It all comes down to this. Young people want to be accepted among their peers, so they will say what they need to say, not all of them, in order to fit in. But eventually you get rebels, and they reject the system and say, that's so lame. You're lame. You follow that stuff? That's Amazon and Walmart's slogan. We need to create a space where you got to be the cool guy in the room with the leather jacket in the corner, the toothpick and the sunglasses and being like, I don't conform to you, dude. Granted, that's how they used to do, and then that became conformist. You got to do your thing. You got to reject the haters. You got to stand up. You got to change the game. You got to speak to people. Donald Trump may be harping on 2020 too much, in my opinion. I think he's got to come out. And the real message here is to say, look what they're doing. Please spread the word, inform your neighbors, and get out and vote. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.